We're going live right now on Facebook, so let me just check that it's working, and then we'll be able to go live to all our guests. And we're going to have slides announcing the 2 minutes, 1 minute before we can begin. So hello everyone, please welcome to this National Multifaith Iftar event. To begin, I would like to introduce you to the wonderful Anila Ali, the co-founder of the American Muslim Women Empowerment Council, to open this great interfaith ceremony.
Thank you, Sasha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Ramadan Kareem, Salam Alaikum, Shalom Aleichem. Welcome everyone to our very special National Muslim Jewish Interfaith Iftar. I'm Anila Ali, the president of AMWEC, the American Muslim Multifaith Women's Empowerment Council. We are proud to organize today's Iftar with the Combat Anti-Semitism Movement, Temple Vatyan, and all of the co-sponsors and speakers that are here. Corona keeps us physically apart, but in a way it has also brought us closer together. We couldn't have had this wonderful mix of speakers together in person, but thanks to Zoom, we're able to be together across time zones and continents. Coming together, despite the distances between us, is indeed the theme of today's event. Here in Southern California, I'm a middle school teacher. In my classroom, students read the Diary of Anne Frank and Elie Wiesel's Night. One of the highlights of the year is when a Holocaust survivor, my dear friend and mentor, Mr. Jack Parissa, comes to share his story. His message to the next generation of Americans is, never again. We must work hard to overcome hate and build a better future for all of us. So in that path, we are honored to bring these meaningful encounters to show you our commitment to rebuilding a common destiny for all of humanity. Today, we unite in saluting the efforts of two compassionate visionaries who turned hate into love, adversity into opportunity, and tragedy into kindness. Judea Pearl and Ambassador Akbar Ahmed, we salute you. Let it be known that Daniel Pearl will not be forgotten, and we pray that may his memory be a blessing. Amen. Ramadan is about setting aside time from our busy lives to make ourselves and our communities stronger. In that spirit, I want to salute all of our speakers for taking time from their very busy schedules to join us. I also want to thank my entire team of strong, empowered women leaders at AMWEC, some of whom you'll be hearing today. AMWEC has a manifesto on the website, and I'm encouraging all of you to please go back and read it and sign it. It notes that Muslim and multi-faith women, as pillars, maternal pillars of the community, have a uniquely powerful leadership responsibility. We are committed to confronting bigotry, both when it comes from our neighbors and when it comes from within our own community. We are women who are about empowerment, not victimhood or scapegoating. Bigotry is a strong force targeting Muslims, Jews, and others. Let us resolve today to continue to stand together. We have tough challenges ahead, but together we shall overcome. It is now my pleasure to introduce my partner, Sasha Dratwa, from the Combat Anti-Semitism Movement. They are partners for our event today. Off to you, Sasha.
Thank you, Anila. Thank you for this wonderful introduction. And thank you everyone to be with us today. I think it's a real celebration or an interfaith celebration for building a better future for all of us. I think that today in history, we have learned that only when we come together as human beings, we can build a better world for our children. And as a director of the Combat Anti-Semitism movement, we try to combat this oldest hatred of hating Jews, not just by working among ourselves, but opening the doors to everyone. And I think that today we're opening the doors of a friendly Muslim community. We try to learn about you, to understand what you're doing. And this is how we build a better world, by learning from each other, because the history brings us together. And it's a time in history that we need to come together again, despite the fact that the COVID-19 divided between us. And now it's a message to the world with my great friend Anila Ali, and all the speakers today that we can make it. I'm glad to say that a year ago, I was father for the first time. And I discovered that babies are born naive and they don't know what is hatred. Hatred is taught by us, the adults, the old people. And we need to build a world for these babies, the future babies, that will be fair, that will be respectful of everyone, and that will accept every religion. So today, when we combat anti-Semitism, we want to build a better world for everyone, for my baby, but all the others' babies and all the children around the world. So this is why we come together to celebrate with friends among the world. I'm now in Israel. We have other friends in Israel. We have people, I think, in Los Angeles, in New York, in Washington, D.C., in Hawaii, in many places around the world, to say, yes, we need to build a better world together. So thank you, Anila. Thank you, all the speakers, for being with us today. And we look forward to hear all of us. And to begin this event, I would like to invite Imam Kazwini from Orange Country to open the ceremony.
Thank you, Sasha, and thank you, Anila, as well. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God be with you all. It's my distinct honor to join you all on this special interfaith collaborative. Many thanks to the organizers, AMWEC, and the Combat Anti-Semitism Movement. So I'll keep this short. In the Quran, we read in chapter number 28, verse number 24, "Then he turned toward the shade and said, 'My Lord, truly I am in need of any good that you may send down upon me.'" That he was Moses. So just a little bit of context. After Moses escaped Egypt towards Midian, wanted as a fugitive, he leaned towards, he turned towards the shade, leaned upon a rock, and it was at that desperate time of need that he said, "I am in need of any good that you may send down upon me." And this was tough for Moses. It was tough for him to be willing to admit that he was in need. Now, the word here is faqr in Arabic, and faqr refers to poverty. The literal meaning of that word is poverty. So he was in desperate need. And remember, Moses was a man who had been brought up with royalty. He was taken care of as a leader. He was protected. He was sheltered. This was the same Moses that was watched over by God as he drifted down the Nile as a baby. At the opposite end of the spectrum was Pharaoh, who saw himself in no need of God. In fact, he saw himself as a God worthy of worship. My point is this: what was the difference between Moses and the Pharaoh? Moses, I believe it was the ego. And when the ego is left unchecked, it is a destroyer. Ego leads us down the path of self-righteousness. Self-righteousness develops into supremacy. Supremacy destroys love, and love is the glue that binds us all together. I believe there are two voices that speak to us. One is the voice of ego, and the other is the voice of conscience. The voice of ego is, as Stephen Covey puts it, tyrannical, despotic, and dictatorial. The voice of conscience is quiet and peaceful. Every day we have a choice to listen to either voice. Moses was a man of conscience, while the Pharaoh was a man of ego. As we fast during the month of Ramadan, we attempt to flush out the tyrannical voice of the ego and tune into the voice of conscience. Imam Ali is reported to have spoken the following lines of poetry: "The universe is within you. Your sickness and your cure are within you." My brothers and sisters, friends, hope and salvation are within us. An Islamic tradition teaches us that God says, "The entire world cannot contain me. It is only the heart of my servant that can contain me." I pray during these final days of the month of Ramadan, and especially during these trying times, that God strengthens his voice within us, that we may come together in love and harmony and coexistence. Ameen. Thank you.
Ameen. Thank you, Brother Kazwini. You continue to inspire us, and thank you for your support of all the work that we've done together. Next, I would like to introduce AMWEC's Vice President, a Pakistani-American business leader and a force to reckon with. Her name is Faryal Khan, and she is my dear friend and a Vice President for 13 years on AMWEC. Faryal Khan.
Thank you, Anila. Well, first of all, thank you all for taking the time to join us today and speak at our event. It's truly touching, and it really feel honored, each and every one of us. My name is Faryal Khan, and I'm the Vice President of the American Muslim Women's Empowerment Council. It's an honor for us to have this today and have leaders from all over the world join us. Ramadan is a time when friends and family get together and celebrate. In joining together, we understand what's going on in each other's lives, have compassion for each other. But we also reach out to different communities because ultimately we're all one. As President Obama stated during an Iftar dinner he hosted at the White House, this is a time for spiritual renewal and a reminder of one's duty to fellow man, to serve one another and lift up the less fortunate. Unfortunately, today with the coronavirus going on, we're not able to get together the way that we normally do. And that's usually at the Temple Bat Yam with Rabbi Gersh, who's always been very, very gracious in lending his place of worship to us. And we have our Iftar there every year. So thank you, Rabbi Gersh. And hopefully next year we'll be doing that again. I'd also like to thank our AMWEC team ladies who are phenomenal. They've been working very, very hard to put this together. And that's Aisha Bajwa, Anastasia Saliras, Bushra Mateen, Dinah Friedman, Farid Zubair, Parveen Ahmed, Rubila Ishtiaq, Sabahat Aziz, Sabine Zafar, Samina, and then Zeba Nissa. And above all, I want to thank Anila Ali, our fearless leader, who always is upfront and out there and always building bridges like nobody I've ever known before. So thank you, Anila.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll hand it back to Sasha. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Farrell. Thank you for this wonderful introduction. And what I would like to do to begin this wonderful moment of hope, we cannot beginning it just with speech and people speaking. We need to begin with music. So I would like to introduce another interfaith person that just joined us, a Sikh song, a Sikh hymn to open the ceremony. I'm not sure if I pronounce your name well, so let me try. Charanji Singh, this is right?
You got it right.
Wonderful, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sasha. And good afternoon, everyone. Ramadan Mubarak. I'm a Sikh. My name is Charanjit Singh. You can call me CJ also. And I'm really humbly honored to be a part of this wonderful, wonderful Iftar event. Thank you, AMWEC, Anila Ali, and Faryal Khan, and the entire team of AMWEC. Sasha, to you. And what a wonderful a wonderful event this is, and spreading love within the cultures and the communities and bringing everyone close together. I'm a Sikh, just wanted to let you know, I don't have much time, I know, but Google Sikhism, we all pray 5 times 2, just like the Muslims, and we have beard, mustache, and the turbans. And anyways, not going into the Sikhism, I'm just singing a beautiful hymn, a Shabad, a prayer, about our 10th master of Sikhism, Shri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib, who recited alone this in the remembrance of his 2 sons, whom he had lost before his eyes while fighting for Sikhism. And please join me to this prayer. Thank you. Tud bin rog rajaya da odan, tud bin rog rajaya da odan, nag nivasa direna, nag nivasa direna. Teri pyari haal murida da kehna, teri pyari sool surahi khanjar pyala, Bing kasaya da sevna, Bing kasaya da sevna, Teri pyari yarane da sanu sathari changa, yarane da sanu sathari changa, pat khiriya da rehna, pat khiriya da rehna, teri pyari, teri pyari haal murida da kehna, teri pyari no, teri pyari. Thank you so much.
That was beautiful.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you very much for this prayer. I would like now to introduce one of the most important leaders of one of the biggest movements in the past decade, I will say not decades, but century, a man that led to freedom Jews from the former Soviet Jewry, and helped save the life of thousands, if not millions of Jews that were held as hostage there. So thank you very much, Natan Sharansky, chairman of ViceGap, but also a board member of the Combat Anti-Semitic movement, to be with us today. Please.
Thank you, dear friends. Congratulations to everybody who made this wonderful event. My best regards to my friend Judea Perel and Ambassador Akbar, Ahmed, with the honors that you are justly receiving. I want to say this corona virus war is sending to all of us 2 very important messages. First one is that how our home, where we spend our time now, is important, how our family is important, how our community is supporting us is important. But the second message, it is as if heavens are crying to all of us. Don't you see that there are wars which you can win only all together, where you have all to be united? And we in Jerusalem feel it very strongly. You know, in these days, Jerusalem is 1/3 secular Jews, 1/3 ultra-Orthodox Jews, 1/3 Arabs of the Eastern Jerusalem. And sometimes it seems as if communities are not connected close enough. In these last months, the teams of social workers and doctors speaking in Hebrew, in Arabic, in English, in Aramaic for Amharic for Ethiopian Jews, in Russian for old Russian Jews. They were moving from Eastern Jerusalem to Western Jerusalem to all the neighborhoods, crossing the lines as if there were no lines. And everybody was in. And it just before we saw wonderful example of treating Syrian refugees in two major hospitals in the north. By the way, both of the hospitals are led by Israeli Arab doctors, and the team of doctors are Jews from all over the world. They were helping to thousands of Syrian refugees without asking who is coming from what camp and who is going back where. And at the same time, of course, there are some voices, hostile voices of hatred, who are speaking about Jews or Israel being behind coronavirus, who are making money from this. You know, these days, all these anti-Semitic statements don't keep water. They don't survive even in our country, because these are the days of working together, of helping together, of saving one another. And it's, I would say, with all the drama of Corona, it's a very optimistic message which is emerging. And that's why it makes me maybe cautious, but definitely optimistic. And thank you, everybody, our friends from all over the world who are uniting their efforts in our mutual struggle. Shalom and salam alaikum from Jerusalem.
Thank you, Mr. Sharansky. And to continue your words, if those are interested to join the movement and to take an active step, we invite them to join the Combat Antisemitism movement. You can go on our website, combatantisemitism.org, sign a pledge and be a part of this movement that try to build a better world and to stop this hatred against everyone. I'm very pleased today to introduce another amazing leader that tries to build a better world, Ambassador Brownback, who is the ambassador, the United States Ambassador at Large for International Religion Freedom, an amazing leader that try to bring people together and to make the difference. So Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And it's a pleasure to join you and a pleasure to see my old friend Natan Sharansky as well. We've worked together on different topics over the years. And, neither of us are aging either. We're just keep going through these.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks as well to this group, the Combat Anti-Semitism, the American Muslim Women's Empowerment Council, for putting this event together. You know, I can't help but to reflect the moment we're in, because it's just such a stark moment. I mean, the coronavirus has essentially put the world in a timeout and just made us all go to our homes and think and pray and reflect on what this all means. And I liked Natan's point about everybody, all of us working together to solve this, and what happens when the world works together to solve a problem. It's just far more likely we're going to get it solved than if we take it on individually. The same really with the issue on anti-Semitism or really any religious bigotry of any religious group. It's best if the world takes it on and says, we're not going to tolerate any of this. We're opposed to all of this. We want to have respect for each other's religious views, whatever those views are, as long as they're peacefully practiced. We want everybody to be able to practice their faith in a peaceful way. And I think that's just one of the messages really of the moment is that we just got to figure out ways to work together, and not just at a level of tolerance. It has to be at a level of respect and mutual care and even loving each other, regardless of what differences our views may be on theology or government or other things. That's what we've got to do if this world's going to thrive. The world is so interconnected now, and this has to happen. I'm delighted. I think the work I'm doing now is most important I've ever been involved in my career. Just really trying to get the global community to support religious freedom, that everybody has a right to practice their faith without fear, to be protected regardless of what their views are, if they're majority or minority or whatever the case might be. And the movement's moving, it's coming, it's moving forward. The government leaders that I'm talking to and meeting with, they see that either the religions of the world are going to work with each other and cooperate and respect each other, or we're going to continue to have religious-based conflict and war through the continuation of human history, and it's going to get worse and not better. So it's really a key moment for faith leaders to step up in a respect and an admiration for each other's search for God, and say, we've got to work together. And it's really our moment, I think, to step up and to show the world that that faith is a tool of peace. It's not a tool of war. It's been used as a tool of war way too many times and in way too many places. It's really, at its heart, a tool of peace. And we've got to demonstrate and do that. And I applaud the people on this call and the people that organized it to push this, because it's really desperately needed. God bless you all the best. And as Ramadan comes to a conclusion, I hope it's been a wonderful time of spiritual growth for those practicing that faith, and that we move forward together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Next, I'm going to introduce an officer, a commanding officer from the LAPD, but I just want to give a little background. 13, 14 years ago, we started our work right after 9/11, and we knew that as Muslim women, Muslim American women, we needed to do something and get our voice out there. We worked with an amazing officer and an individual, Chief Michael Downing. We went to him and we said, we need a voice. We have a unique voice and we need a seat at the table. And it was LAPD's Chief Downing who gave us a lot of strength to do what we're doing. And since then, we have been partners. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Commander Koloski from the LAPD. Commander Koloski has served for 24 years with the LAPD. He's currently assigned as the commanding officer of the LAPD's counterterrorism group. He has served in 3 different assignments as commanding officer, and he was awarded the 2015 Excellence in Leadership for his impact on crime fighting and law enforcement, community engagement. Prior to LAPD, Commander Koloski served the United States Marine Corps, achieving the rank of sergeant. He is a veteran of the Persian Gulf War and the liberation of Kuwait. We thank you for your service, sir, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Anila, and thank you everyone for allowing me to be amongst such prestigious and wonderful individuals. As Anila said, our chief of police in 2020 is Michael Moore, and he has been a visionary in terms of his community engagement. And Anila mentioned one of our predecessors who was a great mentor to me, was Deputy Chief Michael Downing. And he spearheaded a lot of the partnerships and collaboration that I think is not only a model today for law enforcement with our interfaith leaders, but it is for around the world in terms of our efforts in working with everyone to combat and reduce the impact of hate in our world, not just in Los Angeles, but globally. We've worked tremendously with different partners in this area, and we'll continue to do that. And I know a few people spoke today about the challenges we're facing with COVID-19. And our department, just like everyone else, has been working hard tremendously on those efforts. But I want to reassure all of you that our efforts and priorities lie with helping communities combat hate, reduce the effects of it, and make an impact every single day so people will not only report these incidents, but come forward and that we can combat them. And I know we're in a very holy season, and I know it's been challenging for everyone with Ramadan, but I just want to wish all of you a very safe ending to Ramadan as it nears, and thank all of you for the continued partnership and allowing me to be here today. And Assalamu alaikum and shalom. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander. Thank you for your word, and thank you for your service to the nation. Really appreciate what you do every day to keep us safe. So the next person I would like to invite is an amazing woman, a leader in the Arab world, the first woman that was appointed by Bahrain as an ambassador, no, the third woman that was appointed by Bahrain as an ambassador in the United Nations, but also the first Jewish person appointed by Bahrain to represent our country in the United States. So Ambassador Nono, I'm pleased that you are with us today, and we look forward to hear you.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you to the Combat Anti-Semitism Movement and the American Muslim Women's Empowerment Council for organizing the digital interfaith Iftar. And I'd like to wish you all a Ramadan Kareem. Today in the Islamic calendar is the 28th day of the holy month of Ramadan in the year 1441. And during this month, Muslims around the world commemorate the anniversary of God's first revelation of the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Fasting during Ramadan is intended to teach Muslims about patience, spirituality, humility, and submissiveness to God. At the end of each day, Muslims break their fast during the traditional Ramadan meal, the Iftar. Religious freedom and respect for religious minorities is not a catchphrase in Bahrain. Rather, it is deeply ingrained in our country's history. Bahrain's legacy as a meeting place for trade between empires has produced a uniquely accommodating environment that respects different religions and cultures that is uncommon in our corner of the world. Although Bahrain is a Muslim country, religious minorities, including Christians, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, and Baha'i, enjoy full freedom of worship. Today, next to mosques, Bahrain is home to 19 registered churches, a synagogue, Hindu, Sikh, and Baha'i temples, and many other places of worship. My path to being named Bahrain's ambassador to the United States is somewhat unorthodox. After many years working in the private sector, I helped to found the Bahrain Human Rights Watch Society in 2005. After working through the organization on a number of important issues, His Majesty King Ahmed bin Isa Al Khalifa appointed me to serve in Bahrain's upper house of parliament, the Shura Council, in 2006. On April 24th, 2008, I received a call from Bahrain's former foreign minister, Sheikh Khalid bin Ahmed Al Khalifa, who told me that His Majesty the King was nominating me to serve as Bahrain's ambassador to the United States. I arrived in DC in July of 2008 and also served as a non-resident ambassador to Argentina, Brazil, Canada, and Mexico. After 5.5 years of having had the honor of serving my country, I returned, leaving behind many great memories and friends, many that I am still in touch with. During my time as ambassador, I was involved in interreligious dialogues and hosted many events bringing people together from different religions and ethnicities, including hosting interfaith iftars at the embassy. A lot of people were amazed to find that the ambassador representing Bahrain was a woman and could not fathom how I could be Arab and Jewish at the same time. For me, as well for most Bahrainis, it doesn't seem out of the ordinary. Our gender, nor our religion we practice, has ever restricted the opportunity of any Bahraini to succeed. In many ways, my experience is a microcosm of Bahrain's broader story. Bahrain's Jewish community may be small. There are only 34 of us, but we have made our mark on Bahraini society. My grandfather came to Bahrain in the late 19th century and worked hard to establish a successful business. In 1934, he was elected to serve on the Manama Municipal Council, which at that time was the highest elected body in Bahrain. His participation in Bahraini politics and civil society established a precedent. I was proud to follow in my grandfather's footsteps almost 70 years later. My childhood experiences also shed some light on how interreligious understanding can help breed an inclusive society. Growing up in Bahrain, everyone knew we were Jewish. I went to a Catholic school and was taught by nuns. My friends were of different religions and backgrounds, and we grew up respecting each other's differences. Indeed, you would be hard-pressed to find another Muslim majority country in which such an experience would be possible. Since I have been back in Bahrain, I have taken an active role in taking visitors to the synagogue and talking to them about our coexistence. I look forward to one day welcoming you all to Bahrain to enjoy the hospitality, tranquility, and experience the coexistence on our island. In closing, I would like to honor all those on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. May God keep them safe and healthy as they continue the fight against this virus. And to all those in the audience, stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Nuno. I'm truly inspired by your accomplishments, and I look forward to meeting you in Bahrain.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Next, I would like to introduce a video that was sent with warm greetings to all of us and support from Senator Jackie Rosen from Nevada. And here's the video.
Hi, I'm Senator Jackie Rosen. I'm sorry I can't be there with you today, but I wanted to take a moment to highlight the National Muslim Jewish Interfaith Iftar for bringing our communities together. With hate crimes on the rise in America, it is more important than ever that Jews and Muslims stand together to turn back the tide of bigotry. Thank you to all those here today who are deeply engaged and committed to this effort. Today is a celebration of our shared values. Values like caring for others, the importance of family, and joining together to break bread. This iftar embodies those values, bringing families and different communities together. I thank you for being here today, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Senator Rosen. Off to Sasha.
Sorry, I was on mute. So thank you to Senator Rosen that couldn't be with us today, but at least send a very nice video message. We're really grateful to be able to hear us. I think that 9 months ago, I met an amazing person at the United Nations in a short meeting of 1 hour. And I discovered a man that decided to take the fight against anti-Semitism and to lead it in the maybe most complicated place in the world, in the United Nations. He tried to unite countries, to United Nations, to United institutions, and I think that he does it every day. He's also the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Religion and Belief, Mr. Ahmed Shaid. I'm great to consider you as a friend of the Combat Anti-Semitism movement, a friend of all of us here today, and thank you for all what you do every day to bring religions together, to combat anti-Semitism, and to show the world what should be done. And especially to help people understanding what is anti-Semitism, modern, old, and this kind of issues. So thank you for being with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sasha, for that very generous introduction. Greetings from the United Kingdom, where I live. I am delighted to join this virtual iftar and would like to begin by thanking our hosts, Combat Anti-Semitism Movement and the American Muslim Women Empowerment Council, for inviting me. I also want to extend my warmest wishes to all who are joining us for this iftar, and want to give a special shout out to my esteemed friend and fellow traveler, Ambassador Sam Brownback, who really is doing a superb job in promoting freedom for all around the world. It is an honor for me to join an eminent group of participants today who are also dedicated to fostering peace, understanding, and love amongst all. We are living in unusual times where the collective dimension of religious worship, so crucial to our spiritual existence and communal life, is being restrained by a global pandemic. We have experienced an Easter, a Passover, a Ridwan, and now Ramadan under lockdown. These difficult times make it even more important that we cherish the values that are the essence of our religious communities and reach out to each other in our shared humanity, uniting under the golden rule that all of the world's religions subscribe to do unto others as we would have them do to us. Solidarity in diversity becomes especially important as we see today the entrepreneurs of hatred go overtime during this pandemic to incite hatred towards others, scapegoating of Jews, Muslims, Christians, Baha'i, and others have been followed by acts of violence and harm. We have to push back against this hatred, not with hate, but with the love of our shared humanity. In my role as the UN's focal point to promote freedom of religion or belief, I have spent a lot of my time to push back against religious hatred. Last fall, as you heard from Sasha, I compiled a report on how anti-Semitism is a global menace, a human rights challenge, and a security threat to everyone. We have seen how scapegoating and conspiracy theories, the essence of anti-Semitic hatred, now extend to other communities as well in this pandemic. We must all stand together. This is why my UN mandate has always emphasized interfaith exchanges and dialogue. The mandate has issued thematic reports offering guidance on how states can support such dialogues, and the UN has developed frameworks to promote this. This includes the Istanbul process led by US, Canada, UK, Turkey, and Pakistan, and the UN's own Global Alliance on Civilizations. I also wish to mention two initiatives that I have been involved with in the UN context: the Fez Action Plan on Faith Leaders to Combat Hatred, and the Faith for Rights Forum. All of these provide important practical guidance on engaging in interfaith initiatives. Indeed, there is quite a lot of activity taking place already, from the diplomacy of the Vatican and Al-Azhar, as we saw in the Abu Dhabi Document Human Fraternity, to those regular meetings in small places like, for example, Sri Lanka, where observed monks, swamis, imams, priests, humanists, lawyers, and doctors sit together to build community resilience against hate. Just heard from Ms. Sharansky also of initiatives happening right now in Israel, how to bring our communities together. There is so much we can learn from ongoing practices. Religion plays a vital role in the lives of the vast majority of people around the world today. Therefore, the opportunity for and the obligation on faith communities to promote friendship and empathy amongst each other is great. Many of you gathered here have dedicated your life to this noble work. I commend you for your work and pledge to work with you in this important endeavor. We all have a common destiny. Salam, shalom, and peace to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Special Rapporteur. Thank you for your words, and thank you for the work that you do every day. You have a really, one of the most difficult jobs in the world, I can say, but we have another person that has a very difficult job, and is with us today is the Deputy Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism that works very closely with Ilan Carr, the Special Envoy to combat and monitor anti-Semitism. Ellie is a special person. She was the Vice President of the Jewish Broadcasting Service, but she also speaks English but fluently Farsi because she was born in Iran. You have an incredible story, and we're glad that you are here with us today to share what you do, how you do, and your history. So thank you for being with us, and we look forward to hearing you.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you so much, and for your kind words and for your welcome. I want to thank Combat Anti-Semitism and the American Muslim Women's Empowerment Council for hosting this most important event. And I just must say that I am in such honored, I'm honored to be in the company of the people I am with today, the too many to name, including Ambassador Brownback. So I'm just going to share real quick my story. I was born with the Arabic name Elham in Iran. Imagine the scene. A Jewish family in Iran in the 1970s has a baby girl and chooses Elham, the Farsi version of the Arabic word ilham, meaning prophecy or prophetic vision, as a name for their daughter. While this image is perhaps hard for us to conjure up in 2020, when Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei just this week referenced Hitler's final solution in a poster depicting a Jerusalem that is Judenrein and calling for the arming of the West Bank, all on the heels of an arson attack on the tomb of Esther and Hamadan. While this image of my Jewish Iranian family comfortable in Tehran at home in the 1970s is perhaps hard for us to imagine, indeed, my family was one among 100,000 Jews living in Iran prior to the Islamic Revolution of 1979. And we were a community living in harmony and peace between Jewish and Muslim neighbors. The Jews of Iran are one of the most ancient Jewish communities in the world, with most of us tracing back our lineage in ancient Persia to the First Temple period, when, as a result of the expulsion of Jews from Israel to Babylonia, we found our way in Persia. Our community was indigenous to the region, and our presence in the region predated the rise of Christianity and later Islam. The Persian Jews, like the Jews of Yemen, Egypt, Syria, Morocco, had lived among their neighbors over the course of millennia. They enjoyed epochs of friendship and harmony, and they also endured epochs of anti-Semitism, all depending on the era and the ruler of the time. Nonetheless, these very ancient Jewish communities persisted for thousands of years and were a part of the very fabric of the societies that they lived in, contributing to the advancement of their societies. Sadly, the 20th century has seen the dispersal of almost 1 million Jews from their ancient homelands throughout the Middle East and North Africa. Today, as we look at the region, we're seeing some very hopeful trends. We're seeing a certain realignment and shifts in the region, which bode well for achieving a true peace. On Tuesday, we witnessed the first direct commercial flight from the United Arab Emirates to Tel Aviv, delivering medical equipment for Palestinians. And the UAE's ambassador to the United Nations said publicly that her government would be willing to work with Israel on a coronavirus vaccine. During this very month of Ramadan, one of the Arab world's most popular TV channels has been airing the series Harun, or Mother of Aaron, which centers on a Jewish nurse living in the Arabian Gulf country in the 1940s. The show depicts interreligious harmony and has been dominating viewership at a time when Arab families gather around the television set together in the evenings. In January, Saudi Arabia's Sheikh Dr. Mohammed Ali Isa, whom I've had the honor of meeting personally, led a delegation of 25 Muslim leaders on a historic visit to the Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp, which he called, quote, a stain on humanity. Sheikh Alisa went on to say that, quote, the evidence we saw yesterday shook us all. It was so painful for me looking at human hair, at children's shoes, at so much more evidence of the atrocity. And about those who deny the Holocaust, he said, quote, they are like Nazis themselves. In June 2019, the Kingdom of Bahrain hosted an international conference on peace and prosperity, when Bahrain's then Foreign Minister Ahmed al-Khalifa gave an interview to the Times of Israel and said, quote, who did we offer peace to? The Peace Initiative? We offered it to a state named Israel. We do believe that Israel is a country that is here to stay, and we want better relations with it, and we want peace with it. The Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has said, quote, I believe the Palestinians and the Israelis have the right to have their own land. And when on the White House lawn, President Donald Trump unveiled the Vision for Peace this January, the ambassadors from Oman, Bahrain, and UAE were all present. And so, as Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said in March, quote, the nations of the Middle East and the world are recognizing just how enduring Israel is. They're coming to recognize that the more the Middle East embraces Israel, the brighter their future will be. And so when I look out into the future, I am very hopeful. I am hopeful that we can build bridges again between the Jewish people and their former Arab neighbors, and even one day in my own birthplace of Iran. I am hopeful that together, all those of us who would like to see a true and lasting peace will succeed in seeing that day. And so with that, I thank you for having me and wish everybody shalom, salam.
Thank you so much for the motivational and very optimistic words. I'm really happy to hear that. I visited Israel. It's been one of the most memorable visits of my life. So I'm really happy to hear that's the silver lining behind Corona. And with that, I would like to introduce my board member. She's also a frontline COVID doctor. She's a hero, and we thank her for that. And her name is Farhad Zubair. She's also got a very unique perspective, which you're going to enjoy. Dr. Farhad Zubair.
Hello. Salam, shalom. I'm Dr. Farhad Zubair, and I'm, as Anila introduced, a board member of AMWEC. I have a unique heritage, a heritage from both faith traditions, Islam and Judaism. My father's Muslim heritage and my mother's Jewish heritage has given me a unique perspective on interfaith. It has given me the capacity to see beyond differences and also to appreciate differences. It helped me to celebrate the countless intersections of our traditions, shared Abrahamic ancestry, shared ethical values, and even shared cuisine. It is in this spirit that we are celebrating today the brotherhood of Mr. Judea Pearl and Ambassador Akbar Ahmed. Thanks.
Thank you, Farhad. And now, let me introduce you two of our honorees. Judea Pearl is an award-winning computer scientist, professor, and academic from UCLA. He's also the father of young Daniel Pearl, who was murdered in Pakistan. Turning his tragedy into a quest for peace, Judea and Ambassador Ahmed began a lifelong journey of peace building between Muslims and Jews. Ambassador Akbar S. Ahmed is an academic, an author, and the chair of Islamic Studies at the American University. And he has devoted most of his life to building bridges, bringing Abrahamic faiths together. He's also my personal mentor and doesn't hesitate to challenge me to be bold and courageous. Today, we honor both of these visionaries as pioneers of this effort to bridge divides. Judea Pearl and then Akbar S. Ahmed.
Thank you all, and Salam alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you for welcoming me to your Iftar celebration. It's the first time in my life, and I know what it means to you and what it should mean to me, because it is the greatest welcome in the Muslim tradition. It's like saying to someone, you are part of our family. Thank you for that. And it's also a greatest tribute to my son, Daniel Pearl, who was murdered 18 years ago, a walking sunshine of truth, humor, and humanity. A bridge builder who gave voice to millions of voiceless Muslims in the Middle East and in North Africa. A journalist that unveiled to millions of readers in the West the human face behind the news. His murderer tried to sow divisions among us, but their scheme did not work out. It worked out the opposite. And the respect that Daniel earned on both sides of the East-West divide, and the goodness of his smile, and the sound of his last words, "I'm Jewish," became an iconic reminder to millions of people around the world that the current wave of terror and violence and hatred is aimed once again not at a tribe or at a country or an institute, but against the very fabric of civilized society. So Daniel's last words, "I'm Jewish," have assumed a universal dimension and came to symbolize the freedom of every individual to assert his faith or heritage or identity. And these three simple words sing of the magic capacity of the human spirit to embed the dignity of being different within the oneness of mankind. I'm also reminded that I look at this invitation and this celebration as a renewal of our dialogue of myself and Ambassador Akbar Ahmed. It reminds me of our visit to London 16 years ago, as we spoke to the House of Lords in the room of Moses. Yes. We went to a dinner after that, and here I am, surrounded by 12 Muslim scholars and leaders from London, and it suddenly dawned on me, it's Friday night. Friday night I have to make the Kiddush. And I invited the waiter to bring us some wine. Of course, not everybody drank wine, but they all joined me in blessing God for finishing the marvelous work of called the earth and our planet. And they all joined me in saying, Baruch atah Mekadesh Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh Shabbat, the blessing on the wine. So I'm paying back this mini celebration in our Jewish Iftar called Friday night. I'm paying it now for your Iftar. It also reminds me very, very strongly of one particular verse in the Jewish tradition. It comes from the book of Exodus in the Torah, which says, "Thou shalt not oppress the stranger," because you understand what it means to be a stranger, because you were once a stranger in the land of Egypt. And this is the core of Jewish wisdom. It says that it means that universal humanity and tolerance for diversity comes from personal empathy. And personal empathy emanates from what? Not from personal experience, but from collective experience. I have not been to Egypt, and I've never been a slave, but my tribe was. So this is the meaning of Iftar too, I believe. The idea of celebrating something in a community. Personal experience is not rich enough to cope with the complexity of life. Collective memory is that what we need. So thank you very much for inviting me to your collective memories. Thanks.
Thank you, Judea Paul. Now I'm passing on the microphone to Ambassador Ahmed. Sasha, we might have to unmute Dr. Ahmed.
Sasha, am I on?
You're on.
So let me start by thanking Anila Ali and Sasha, you and all your colleagues for giving me the honor of being part of this glittering galaxy. My journey to this Iftar began 3 decades ago when I was asked to be the Muslim commissioner on the first ever commission on anti-Semitism organized by the Runnymede Trust in London. And during the course of that commission, 2 things dawned on me: how little I knew about the Jewish community, how sympathetic their history was, their culture was, and how similar to Muslims. And number 2, that the kinds of challenges they were facing really emanated from ignorance, from stupidity, and from a certain bile. And it was up to those of us who had become friends and allies to help explain Jewish history and culture. And I took that road, and along the journey on that road, I met many wonderful people. And of course, Judea Pearl is one of my heroic figures that I met. And he mentions the House of Lords, which was quite a climax of our dialogues, because you can imagine the Moses room with a Jewish Lord, a Muslim Lord, a Christian Lord, welcoming us with the Chief Rabbi of the United Kingdom. It's very, very inspiring. Then, of course, I spoke at the Holocaust Museum, probably the first Muslim to speak there. Again, these are great moments, very moving for me. I look now at the virus in a collective, as part of this humanity, puzzled and worried and anxious about what is to happen next. And again, 2 or 3 lessons immediately hit me. Number one, in terms of our interests, unless we very quickly help the world understand how connected we are, the connectivity hits you immediately. We are no longer Jew or Muslim. This is a global crisis. Number 2, how dangerous it is to be ignorant. Without knowledge, we are all really in deep trouble. If you're not connected and you're ignorant, you're in trouble. And how our plight is also linked to climate change, to poverty, the greater issues which we have sort of ignored. So once again, I appeal to all of you to continue your struggles, broaden it beyond anti-Semitism into these other fields, because they are connected. We have to challenge them, we have to fight them. And as for me, I'm on this journey and I'm looking at Judea and I'm very impressed by his white beard. I know that many times when we are both on stage and facing an audience, some members of the audience would quietly come up to me very respectfully and say, you know, Professor Pearl, I'm so sorry about your son. And I knew they were thinking I'm clean shaved, so I must be Jewish. And Judea had a beard, and he must therefore be the Muslim or Muslim Professor Akbar. So I'd say, no, that's a Judea Pearl. And now, Judea, you have a longer beard and a whiter beard. You're going to make my task even more difficult. So prepare yourself, Judea, for our next round of dialogues. Thank you so much once again, Anila. I'm delighted you have the Rumi Mevlevi dancers behind you. That's a great symbol of love and compassion, because I do want to end with one short story. A Sufi asked an angel, where is heaven? And the angel said, it is in the heart with love in it. And the Sufi then said, and what is hell? Where's that? And he said, it is again in a heart without love. So love and compassion, as Rumi reminds you, are absolutely vital. And that is what drives us as human beings, irrespective of our cultures and our religions. So thank you so much for inviting me and allowing me to be part of this wonderful gathering. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Ahmed. And that is the reason why I continue to be inspired by you. Thank you so much for your words, and you're always encouraging us. Thank you, Judea. And next, moving on, I'd like to introduce one of my board members. She's also a fellow educator like I am, and she is Bushra Mateen. Off to you, Bushra Mateen.
Assalamu alaikum, shalom, and Ramzan Mubarak. Thank you for being here today. I want to introduce myself and explain why I chose to be involved with AMWEC. As Anila introduced me, my name is Bushra, and I'm the treasurer and a proud board member of AMWEC. I am Muslim and proud to be of my Pakistani heritage. When Pakistan was founded in 1947, my father emigrated from India to join the new nation's bureaucracy as a civic servant. He spent the next 30 years working as a bureaucrat and helping further a civic society in Pakistan. To be a part of my father's Pakistani civic society during the 1960s and 1970s involved being good neighbors to our Christian, Zoroastrian, and Hindu friends. It also meant following current events, obtaining a higher education, and educating for the needy. Fast forward, when I immigrated to the US 30 years ago, I wanted to be part of a positive and pluralistic community, just as I was in Pakistan. Here, in addition of having Zoroastrian and Hindu neighbors, we have many Christian and Jewish neighbors that we interact on a daily basis. For a successful society, we must know and love our neighbors. That's why I'm here today and why I believe this event is so important. It's an honor to be part of this interfaith dialogue. Thank you so much, and Eid Mubarak in advance. Back to you, Anila.
Thank you, Bushra. It is my distinct honor to introduce the next speaker. She's also a friend, Dr. Maya Soetoro Ing. Maya is an Indonesian-American interfaith educator. Maya serves as a consultant to the Obama Foundation, working closely with the international team to develop programming in Asia-Pacific region. Prior to her work with the Obama Foundation, she was the director at the Matsunga Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where in addition to leading outreach and development initiatives, she also taught leadership, peace building, and conflict mediation. Maya is a longtime friend of AMWEC and I'm delighted to have Dr. Sotoro.
Thank you so much, dear Anila, and thank you, Sasha, and all of your many people who helped to put this together. It's a real honor to be here. Salam alaikum and shalom and Ramadan Mubarak. I'd love to start just by asking everyone on the call and everyone who is viewing to take 30 seconds to sit in silence and reflect on your definition of peace. I so wish that I could hear your many definitions. I'm sure that they're all beautiful and powerful and legitimate. I do that only because I want to remind everyone that each person, regardless of faith, profession, course of study, has the capacity to be a peace-building leader. It's simply about claiming that identity. Peace building, as we see it at the Matsunaga Institute for Peace, is about many things. We, of course, teach classes in human rights and social justice and nonviolent communication and conflict management and leadership, environmental justice, personal peace, indigenous peace, and more. And because there are so many definitions, we see this as an important time to begin giving people in every educational space the tools, the skills, and the mandate for peace-building leadership at every age. I've never met Dr. Pearl, but I want to thank you for your service to the world. You and your son are educators and storytellers in the best sense of the word. Your example of forgiveness and post-traumatic growth are instructive and inspirational to us all. I've had the great pleasure of meeting on several occasions Professor and Ambassador Ahmed, and in my peace education classes, I use Professor Ahmed's Journey into Islam and Journey into America projects. And in my experiences meeting him with his students, it's clear that he is an explorer. He challenges his students to lean into their discomfort, to reflect on their biases, to use their gifts to build bridges and to stretch their minds towards empathetic shores. And this work is more important than ever. It's part of rebranding peace as action-oriented, pragmatic work that can take place in every community, profession, faith, to make our communities more inclusive, just, compassionate, fair. And this is a time when all of us should be explorers, when we must face the fear and the unknown of COVID-19 and the other things that are taking place in our world, conflicts and inadequacies and struggles and suffering, not just with courage, but also with a sense of wonder, with curiosity. We have to confront and our own death and hopelessness, grapple with solitude, and mine our own interiors in order to care for ourselves, for the environment, to love one another. And we have to do this instead of getting small and hard and selfish. So these men that we honor today and these voices we hear from today, these are explorers, explorers of their own hearts and minds, as well as of our global communities. And I have the utmost respect and appreciation for all of you. For me, when I think about peace education, I think about the need to wash our eyes, to see ourselves in this time in new ways, to see the potential of the world, our communities, the problems and possibilities from multiple perspectives. So instead of doing debates, let all of us in schools all over the world teach structured academic controversies, where you learn from one side and then you do a flip and you learn from the other side, where you use poetry and prose and art to then braid multiple perspectives and voices. Instead of reading the news or hearing it from one source, let us compare sources of storytelling from all over the world, to have a more expansive version of the truth, to see that we can also rewrite stories for better outcomes. These are our educational foundations. And when you think about the fact that the world is comprised primarily of the faithful, if every religious leader counsels their flock to understand, engage with, and end the suffering of others, to be curious in heart and mind, think of what that will accomplish. I would like to end with a poem by Ambassador Ahmed, because he read Rumi's poem or shared it. This is part of one of his poems that I enjoy so much. What is this riddle and what is its part? What is this enigma and mystery? What can reveal the secrets of the heart? What has the power to change me? It is God's greatest gift. It raises us high above. It is the ridge over the rift. It is love, love, love. Give it in generous measure. Give it as if there's no tomorrow. Give it to all you meet, this treasure. Give it and banish sorrow. So I'd like to just ask you to take another 30 seconds of silence to think about your commitment to peace and action, one thing that you will do to increase love and banish sorrow.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you for this wonderful, inspiring speech. And I'm grateful that you are with us today. I think that you asked a question at the beginning and you didn't heard any answer, but I will give you my answer to how peace looks to us. So peace to me looks like, in two words, respect and education. And I think that if we respect each other, we respect our neighbors, we respect everyone, and then we learn about them and we know who they are, then peace will come. And this leads us to the next speaker, a great friend of the Combat Anti-Semitism movement, Karen Barral, the Director of Government Relations Office for Hadassah. And I'm glad that we have Karen today because she's a fighter and she fights for education, for Jewish education, and for educating about the Holocaust. And I'm glad that you're going to tell a little bit what you do. So thank you for being with us today, Karen.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you for inviting me on the call, and thank you, Anila and the Multifaith American Women's Empowerment Council. Anila, I love the name of your organization because I represent 300,000 Hadassah members from all over the country, and we're all about empowerment and women who do. And one of the things that we work on and we focus, what Sasha is talking about, is our approach to combating anti-Semitism, and that's primarily through education. And Hadassah took up the cause to pursue legislation called the Never Again Holocaust Education Act. And we had, we passed the bill in the House in January. And then last week, during this time of coronavirus, when we're all stuck at home and little is going on in Washington, we were able to, the Senate was able to pass the Never Again Education Act. And it's on its way to the president's desk, and he will hopefully be signing it within the next 10 days. So it's a great, it's really symbolic of how important this is and how important it's got bipartisan support. It passed in unanimous consent in the Senate. So it really does show that both Republicans and Democrats value the importance of Holocaust education. And it's not only about combating anti-Semitism, it's about teaching anti-hate. It's teaching about being a more tolerant society. And, as our next steps, as we go forward, we're constantly working and fighting and combating anti-Semitism in lots of different ways. But just because this bill passed doesn't mean we're not going to have anything more to do with it. We're going to be working on the grassroots level with teachers and school boards to make sure that they're applying for the fund that's in this act. And what this act will do is provide a fund, a federal fund, that teachers can access for programs, for materials, for funding to take children to the U.S. Holocaust Museum, to bring in speakers from the Holocaust Museum. It's just going to make sure that a lot more of our youth learn about the history and what the Holocaust was about. So we're looking forward to it. And, you know, this is such a great forum for us to be a part of, because really believe that it's more impactful when we do this together. And this is not just about the Jewish community doing this. This is about all of us working together. And even when we pursue legislation combating anti-Semitism, it's so much more impactful and powerful if we do that together, if we come in as different faiths and we make the case for these types of bills. So I'm really happy to be a part of this. And I look forward to the future where we can continue to work together and do a lot more to make our lives a peaceful and more tolerant society. Thank you again.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks for your vision and for the work that you're doing as an educator after 9/11. I found it so useful to work with my friend who's the Holocaust survivor and to learn from him, and my Jewish mentor, who I'd like to mention here because she's the one who told me, this is how you can do it, Anila. We know what it's like. And she gave me all the resources, and it's so easy for me to now, as an educator, sow the seeds of peace in my students. And the most impactful part of the curriculum that my students come back every year and tell me, Miss Ali, we remember that, is the one that I do on the Holocaust, because I bring in Muslim speakers and I bring in the Holocaust survivor. It is a very powerful message. I thank you from my heart for doing that work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Next, I'd like to introduce my board member. Her name is Anastasia Selberis. She started out as an incredibly smart Berkeley intern with AMWEC many years ago. And then she blossomed into her new role. And now she's our youngest AMWEC board member. She's Greek Orthodox American, and she's a beloved member of the Pakistani community. We've made her an honorary Pakistani. Anastasia Selberis.
Thank you, Anila. Assalamu alaikum and shalom. And thank you to the American Muslim and Multifaith Women's Empowerment Council, to Combat Anti-Semitism, and to Temple Bat Yam, and of course, all of our incredible global collaborators and participants today. As a Greek Orthodox Christian and American, a board member of AMWEC, and now an executive in global partnerships in higher education, I am both grateful and honored to take part in yet another AMWEC Interfaith Iftar. As diverse as our faiths or our cultures may be, this type of interfaith dialogue right here and this type of support is paramount to revealing and celebrating the common values amongst us and ultimately uniting humanity. So I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you participating today. And may we continue to transcend challenges and the divisive hate narratives through education, resilience, and loving dialogue. So Ramadan Mubarak and Eid Mubarak in advance. Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia. Next, I'd like to introduce Rabbi Simon Jacobson. Rabbi Simon Jacobson is a pioneering speaker and thought leader to thousands. He is the founder of the Meaningful Life Center, coined the spiritual Starbucks by the New York Times, which bridges the secular and the spiritual. He's the author of the best-selling book, Toward a Meaningful Life. With his keen insight into human condition and over 35 years of experience, Rabbi Jacobson has the unique ability to offer clarity and direction in difficult times. We are indeed honored to have you, Rabbi Jacobson. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled and honored to be with all of you. Very touched by all the words that have been shared here. Briefly, my whole life has been one story, building bridges. I grew up in a very Orthodox Hasidic family, but thank God I was blessed to have a family and a community that was non-dogmatic. It was non-condescending and non-judgmental, which really allowed me to explore and realize the commonality that we all share while also being unique and individualistic. So I'm really, again, honored and very moved by seeing such diversity coming together. It reminds me, just a few weeks ago, I was being interviewed by a major newspaper in the United States. And after the interview, the writer, the journalist asked me, so how do I title you? Ultra-Orthodox Rabbi Simon Jacobson? I said, no, why don't you just call me Simon Jacobson? He says, no, but I need a title. Are you a rabbi? Are you a religious rabbi, Orthodox? I said, why do we need labels? When you're a journalist, are you an orthodox journalist, an unorthodox journalist? Are you, you know? And he said, everybody needs labels. I said, no. Labels are for clothing, not for human beings. And I think it's a vital element to recognize that we all share one common destiny, and that is that we are created in the divine image. Each of us an indispensable part of a cosmic symphony, and every musical note is absolutely necessary, and we each complement each other. And I'll add, I believe especially now, and I see it on the front lines in my own work. I'm not in the medical field in the sense of the physical medical field, and I commend all those heroes that are literally risking themselves and have risked their lives. But there's also another side of healing, and that is the mental health and emotional health and psychological, spiritual health that is equally being under attack when our comfort zones have been ripped away from us. But I see something beautiful, I think we're all witnessing, that when you do strip that those security blankets, the schedules, our plans, where people have no idea where they're going to be next week because more or less nobody has a clue, a deeper goodness is being revealed. And I would say a historic opportunity, definitely not in my lifetime, but I believe even perhaps in all of history, because of technology and because of so many other opportunities, that we literally have the potential here to create a true paradigm shift. The mystics put it this way, that between every shift from one reality to another, you need to go through some disruption. We all hope it should be with the least amount of pain and aggravation and death, God forbid. But think of it like the crack of an egg. The chick can't come out of the egg unless there's going to be a crack. Are we going to focus on the egg, or are we going to focus on the new life? And all of you, in the positions that you are leaders. And I believe we have to be proactive and demonstrate for history that when we look back at 2020, and in hindsight, no pun intended, 2020 vision, that we could say that though we were challenged on so many levels, but the human spirit rose and recognized that we are all one entity, and labels do not separate us. And that the fact is, I think it was mentioned right at the outset of this meeting, that look back when we were little children. If we were all sitting here one day old, 5 days old, 1 year old, 2 years old, devoid of politics, devoid of everything, what are we like? We, end of the day, innocent, vulnerable, loving, and in need of love, all part of one entity. Whatever happens in our adult lives, I'm not going to go analyze right now, but I think now, because our schedules have been upended, the security blankets, as I mentioned, our industries, there's virtually not an area of our lives that has not been disrupted in some way. This disruption is an opening for unity of the highest possible level. I'm reminded of what Michelangelo said when he was asked, how do you sculpt those beautiful angels out of the marble? And what was his response? He said, I see the angel trapped in the marble. I carved and carved and set her free. We are all angels. We're all musical notes. We're all flowers in God's grand and mysterious plan. Unfortunately, the angel can get trapped in marble, in concrete, and other substances. But people like ourselves, people like yourselves, our job is to just carve away. We don't need to create beauty. The beauty is there. Every human being carries inherent beauty. Unfortunately, there are layers, whether the way the mystics put it, in the Jewish mystics call it the tzimtzum, the great concealment. Every religion, every school of thought has their way of describing how this inherent unity, this inherent tapestry called the human experience, how does that get concealed? How do we suddenly realize, how do we suddenly deceive ourselves into thinking we're separate entities? That if I hurt you, I hurt myself. If I love you, I love myself, because we're part of one organism. This is an opportunity. I really say this from my heart to each one of you, to myself, an opportunity, because you don't get this every day, a disruption where people can't say, oh, I'm running to my job, I'm going to a restaurant, I'm going to a baseball game, I'm going to the theater. We honestly have an opportunity to say what's going on outside, we may not be in control of, but we're completely in control of what you're going to do with your spirit, with your love. So to me, this is a microcosm. If we just magnify this, amplify this. It can be a ripple effect, a butterfly effect that can affect 7.5 billion and counting human beings on this earth, each one an indispensable musical note and a large composition. We need each other, and everyone needs each one of us. Thank you so much for this honor. Let us use this wake-up call in the fullest sense of the word and create a true pandemic of goodness and kindness. It's an honor, my dear friends, to be with you.
Thank you, Rabbi Jacobson. The honor is ours. Thank you for those words of wisdom. Next, I'd like to introduce Priest Bandara. We are honored to have Priest Zarir Bandara, who has voluntarily been serving the Zoroastrian community for many, many years. He's a peacemaker, a dear friend of the Muslim and the Jewish community, and especially the Pakistani community. And I welcome him and ask him to say a few words. Priest Bandara.
Thank you, Anila. That was beautiful, Rabbi. The angel trapped in the marble. That was so nice. Assalamu alaikum, shalom, sat sri akal, namaste, and Sabji. I sincerely thank Anila Ali, AMWEC, Sasha, Combat Anti-Semitism for this beautiful Iftar celebration. Before I talk about religions, I would like to talk about the present time by giving three different things. One, faith and fear. If we choose faith over fear, because faith comes from God, whereas fear we see as Ahriman's work, devil. Two, instead of virus, if we see we are us. And number three, immunity as I am unity. So in this present time, if we choose faith as we are us and build up our immunity by becoming one unity. In different religions, we see similarities and differences. To me, similarities and differences both are two sides of the same coin. Similarities are not only easily accepted, but we enjoy the same. For example, cuisine, food, language, movies, attire, lifestyle, and the list goes on. Unfortunately, when it comes to differences, it doesn't go the same way. So then we say, let us just focus on similarities to bring about unity. I wish this was true. We just cannot ignore the differences as they do exist. And they are an integral part of individual cultures. I welcome the similarities and differences as the basis of humanity in universality. And it is not just okay to have differences, but it is necessary and essential for our growth and evolvement. In nature, every species are different, yet they work synergistically for the progress and the betterment of the universe. In Zoroastrianism, we believe there is a presence of divine energy in nature, in the universe, and in ourselves that we all share. The physical manifestation of that energy is fire, candle, or lamp, which is a symbol of reverence to all religions. Hence, it is the need of an hour to realize and also to preach that yes, there are different paths, but goal is the same, which is common destiny for humanity in the universe. Thank you, and Eid Mubarak to all of us.
Thank you, Priest Bandara. Thank you for being a friend to the Muslim and the Jewish community and being with us every year at the Temple Bat Yam. Next, I'd like to introduce the Multifaith, the person who started the Multifaith movement in the Muslim Women's Organization. We started AMWEC many years ago, and we were called the American Muslim Women's Empowerment Council. And then we started working a lot with the Jewish community, and I met my dear friend, who is now my sister, Dinah Frieden, and she said, change the name. So we became Multifaith, and we're so proud and honored to have her and her unique perspective on board. And she is a Jewish sister who stands with us, and she never hesitates to fight bigotry and hate side by side. Dinah Frieden.
Thank you, Anila. Thank you for mentioning that we are AMWEC. We are American Muslim and Multifaith Women's Empowerment Council. Notice in our logo, there's a colorful double M. In common, we are a group of beautifully diverse women. We all have a passion for building cultural bridges and embracing diversity. As a Jewish woman, I help represent the multi-faith in our organization. I share my culture and traditions, and together as an organization, we demonstrate inclusion. Each of our members are very committed to the community. We share our time and energies with our communities near and far. As a board member, I'm a proud graduate of the FBI Citizens Academy, recognizing the importance of trust and partnership with our law enforcement. I especially want to thank our esteemed speakers today. Your time and dedication to our Iftar demonstrates your passion and your desire for inclusiveness in welcoming friendships around the globe. Thank you so much. Sincerely, Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you, Dinah. And with that, we're going to be looking at a video message. I'm profoundly grateful to United States Secretary of Transportation, Honorable Elaine Chao, for supporting our interfaith work and taking the time to record this message for us. We send her greetings on the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and I thank her personally for this beautiful message.
During these challenging times, I want to send my support for this very important interfaith event. I commend you for holding this interfaith Iftar dinner. Breaking bread together can help break down barriers and replace those barriers with mutual respect and tolerance. As we meet the challenges of COVID-19, we are reminded that strength lies in unity, and global crises like this afflict people of every gender, every nationality, every belief. Standing together with a sense of unity and mutual respect can help us confront even the toughest problems. Division tends to make problems worse. So thank you for taking a step to strengthen bonds between the many vibrant faith communities that make our country great. Please know that I am with you in spirit as you celebrate breaking the fast this evening.
Great, thank you to the Secretary that couldn't be with us today. So I was hoping that we end on time, but I was a bit not realistic by looking at the number of speakers that we have today. But what I can promise is that we are approaching the end. We have only 3 more speakers. So I would like to introduce another great friend of the Combat Anti-Semitism movement, and in general, a friend that we love working with him. And this is Richard Hirschaut, the director of AJC Los Angeles. And I just want to mention that 3 weeks ago, together with Richard, we hosted a beautiful ceremony in memory of Lori Gilbert Kay that was killed in the synagogue, in the Poway synagogue a year ago. And we discussed the next step of combating anti-Semitism, how it should be done. And I think this is a great answer by bringing everyone together. So Richard, thank you for working with us every day. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sasha, and to Anila as well, the AMWEC and combating anti-Semitism movements. This is an extraordinary gathering today. And on behalf of AJC, the American Jewish Committee, we are grateful to be included and delighted to be able to offer our perspective on how we might seize upon this enormous opportunity to restart the world, certainly to reimagine the kind of world that we can live in a post-COVID new normal and new reality. I want to share with you that the AJC understands that this is not the work of a day. It takes hours and moments at times of frustration, but ultimately encouragement, optimism, and hope to move the needle forward. Secretary Chow spoke poignantly a few moments ago about the imprimatur of the United States government in making a difference in setting the tone for creating and building a more harmonious and hopeful world. At this very moment, an important piece of legislation sits in the United States Senate. It is the No Hate Act that passed out of the US House of Representatives just last week and now is awaiting consideration by Leader McConnell and the US Senate. And with the passage of this act, we will see our communities incentivized to teach and train, particularly the law enforcement community, what hate crimes are, so that all communities, all of our neighbors, are aware and can recognize the signs of biased crime. We've seen a sad and troubling spike in episodes of hate and incidents of bias throughout the COVID-19 crisis. As much as we've seen the better angels of humanity revealed in places far and wide, from the frontline healthcare workers to the grocery clerks who are there each and every day, selflessly and with devotion, helping all of us. We've also seen a darker underbelly of hate emerge in American society, with relentless attacks upon Asian Americans, Jewish Americans, people of all faith and all backgrounds. This cannot be acceptable or part of the new normal as we emerge from COVID-19. This assembly today is truly a conspiracy of goodness. There are heroes of humanity that are on this computer screen, on this Facebook Live, and on this Zoom call. We draw tremendous inspiration from these heroes who have overcome insurmountable odds and years of oppression in totalitarian societies and beyond to see a better day, never losing hope, never losing their sense of resilience or belief in a better world. There have unfortunately been terrible comparisons that have been made, analogies, the invoking of Nazi-era imagery to combat and contest the stay-at-home directives in many states. It's outrageous. There's no place for it. And it frankly has no analogy to the terrible moments in the history over this last century. But what we do know is this, that in our communities, we have a golden opportunity to reimagine what our world will look like. COVID-19 has revealed tremendous structural inequities across the board and for communities, access to healthcare, the unfair treatment of migrant populations and asylum seekers, and has revealed the terrible chronic problem of homelessness, profoundly felt here in Los Angeles and in many other large cities. We have an opportunity to look differently at our world. As we emerge from this pandemic, we have a chance to bring forward our better angels for all of humanity, to create a more compassionate and hopeful, not merely tolerant, but respectful society. This is our moment. This is the proverbial silver lining out of the depths of this terrible, tragic, sad crisis. Each and every day here in Los Angeles, and we're blessed to have a remarkable leader in Mayor Eric Garcetti. He delivers a straightforward assessment of how our city, the City of Angels, is responding to this crisis. Though the message is understandably sobering, it is also hopeful, for it is punctuated by a declaration that we really are in this together, all of us. Mayor Garcetti calls it LA love. From this love may spring compassion, and from compassion may come possibility, and from possibility, genuine opportunity to build a better city and a better society and world. May these better days soon be upon us so that we can get to work. Ramadan Kareem.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Richard Hirschot. Thank you for this beautiful motivational work. We have our work cut out, but we stand with you in fighting hate in all shape or form. It's my pleasure to introduce my next board member. Her name is Deborah Cunningham-Skernick. She's a retired teacher and she's our Catholic board member. She is a fierce advocate for gender, inclusion, and peace. Deborah Cunningham-Skernick.
Hello. I was raised Catholic, but I always had a thirst for other religions. So often I attended Methodist, Lutheran, and Unitarian church with my friends growing up. Many of my friends were not surprised when over 40 years ago, I married my husband, who is Jewish. In 2012, I met my new best friend, Anila Ali, who is a Muslim American woman, as you know, and she exposed me to her beautiful religion, is the Islamic faith, and her Pakistani culture. I learned very quickly that Islam isn't really much different than being Catholic. We all love our families, we love helping one another, and we are devoted to God. Next, Anila introduced me to my next best friend, Dinah Frieden, who is Jewish. The three of us became very well known in Orange County. So we gave ourselves the name Jerusalem Sisters, because if the three of us can put aside our differences, so could others. I want to thank Anila, Dinah, and AMWEC for your friendship and your spiritual guidance for the past 8 years.
Thank you, Dinah. Yes, we are the Jerusalem Sisters and hope to visit it together one day. My next speaker is Shelley Moore Krajicek. As a public school teacher, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce a fellow educator, a leader, Shelley. She's from the National Education Association's Executive Committee. Shelley is a national board certified teacher. She's a high school English and drama teacher from Ellsworth, Wisconsin, with 17 years of classroom experience. She's now the board member for the Wisconsin Education Association Council, and she's on the executive committee of the NEA, the National Education Association, and it's my distinct pleasure to welcome you.
Thank you so much. It is my pleasure to be with you today and my honor to learn from you so much. I've actually taken pages of notes because, as we know, our first job as educators is to continue to challenge ourselves as learners. As a member of the National Education Association Executive Committee, I represent over 3 million educators across the country and on our US military bases. And I tell you that one of the core tenets of the NEA, part of our mission, is to prepare students for a diverse and interdependent world. We want to make sure that they are successful, and that means teaching peace, how to be peaceful, and about understanding and humanity. Those are some of the core beliefs of the NEA. We believe that starts early. So I may represent over 3 million people across the country as an educator. In my home, I represent one, my 18-month-old daughter. And it has been my goal to get her into the arms of as many people as possible. I want her to know every smell, every feel, every faith, every color. I want her to know that we are all united in love. And I want you to know that even though schools may be physically closed, it has been an incredibly unique opportunity for educators across this nation. If we don't have to teach to a standardized test, it's allowed us to focus on the social and emotional needs of our students, to help them come together, to be united as one in this nation at this time of great learning from each other, through distance and space. We are coming to understand each other more. And so I hope you know that your educators across this nation are prioritizing peace, understanding, and humanity more than ever. And it has been truly an honor to learn from you and with you today. And I have so many quotes. Do not be surprised if you hear yourselves quoted by Lily Eskelsen Garcia, the president of the National Education Association, and CNN one day. You are amazing. It has been an honor to be with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Krajicek. Look forward to working with you later. The next person I'd like to introduce is actually my brother. Many years ago, when AMWEC was being attacked with a lot of hate, Islamophobia, we were hurt. We were deeply hurt, and we didn't know what to do. We turned to our Jewish friends, and one of those friends was Rabbi Gersh Zibelman, and I shared how we were feeling, how vulnerable we felt, and he opened up the doors of his beautiful synagogue and the doors of his heart. And since then, he is our brother. I get teary-eyed when I think about that time a few years ago when we started hosting Interfaith Iftars at the Temple Bat Yam, and we didn't know what was happening, and now it's our second home. So it's my pleasure to introduce my brother, Rabbi Gersh Zibelman, who opened up his heart, the doors of his beautiful synagogue in Newport Beach to welcome us so many years ago. And we've made it a tradition. And Rabbi Gersh, it is my honor, it is AMWEC's privilege to work with you and your congregation.
Thank you, Anila, my sister. Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. This has been just an extraordinary gathering, and to think back just those years ago to when we first gathered here in person. Please God, we'll be able to gather soon again in person to celebrate, not only for the fellowship, but also for the amazing food that we look forward to. We've heard so many amazing presenters and speakers. I want to thank all of them, all of the participants who've been participating in this webinar as well. I want to thank Anila and Sasha and AMWEC for bringing us all together during this time of physical distancing. We do not have to be distant from each other. In fact, we can be closer to each other than ever before across the world, across so many time zones. I want to conclude with one of the most famous lines in the book of Psalms, Psalm 133, Shir HaMa'alot LaDavid, a song of ascents of David, King David. You may know these words in singing form. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good and how pleasant, how wonderful it is when brothers dwell together. Friends, we are all brothers and sisters. We are all unified in spite of and embracing all of our differences. When we think about what peace will look like, it will look like a time when we all remember that we are brothers and sisters. We treat each other with love, compassion. It's events like this and frameworks like that that give us all hope for the future, for our future, the future of our children and grandchildren. Thank you. Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi. And now we are about 25 minutes late on our schedule, on our program. but I think that we can all agree that every minute of the time that we spent together was meaningful, was important. And I hope that we give out of this wonderful digital event hope to thousands of people that hate can be win, can be combat, and we can work together to end what's happening today a lot of time. And we can see it on social media, so much hatred spread against so many minorities, but a lot also against the Jewish people, as we have seen in the past weeks. Even though that we are in a crisis, an international crisis, Jews have been accused of terrible things that obviously they didn't do. So first of all, I would like to thank you, before we ending, to our great friends, Anila Ali, a wonderful friends of the Combat Anti-Semitism movement, for all what you do every day, for your fight, what you do to bring people together and to make this world a better place. And what you do, I think that should be told and should be, and should inspire thousands all around the United States, but all around the world. So thank you for what you do. Thank you to all the speakers that came together, to Ambassador Brownback, to the UN Special Envoy, to Eli Kohani, the Deputy Special Envoy to combat anti-Semitism, and to all the other distinguished guests, to the Senator Rosen for the video, the Secretary of Transportation also. But mainly we invite all of you to join the movement to combat hatred and anti-Semitism. You all can go on our website, sign up the pledge. The pledge is based on the IRA definition of anti-Semitism, and be a part of this movement to change the world and make this place a better place. It's not easy. It demands a lot of work, and this is just one event that we do. So follow us, be with us, and I promise that only together we can win this battle. So thank you everyone for being with us today. Thank you, Alina.
Thank you to all of you from the bottom of our hearts. We are profoundly grateful for the time that you have committed. It shows your commitment to peace. Let's all meet again next year and do all the work that we have promised to do in the forthcoming weeks. Also, I have one personal request. Please go to AMWEC's website. If you like what we're doing, if you believe that we're heading in the right direction, please sign our manifesto, www.amwec.org, and let us know that you believe in us and our mission to bring people together. So I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much, and thank you to our honorees. May God bless all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha.